Adrian, can you please?
Yeah. So hi. Yesterday let me just bring this. So yesterday we talked about the types again. We talked about application builder. So we saw very clearly each one of the components did, and we started seeing a little bit of Veil. So what was Veil about? So today we're gonna dig a little deeper into the rules and procedures. We're gonna see how to use Veil to query the types and also extension some of the sources. And I want to talk about collaboration and client builder. So Vantiq rules and procedures. So when we talk about procedures, it's a piece, let's say a piece of code that can do some functions. In other languages, we also have a block called procedures. In this one, or sometimes functions. In this one, we have a procedure being a standalone piece of code that can be used being called by rules, by other procedures, uh, or to put inside the application builder or collaboration. So the syntax is procedure, then you may put optionally a service name, which will make it available to be published to in the catalog. Um, a name of the procedure, what are the parameters, and sometimes some properties that you may pass along. So an example could be a procedure called change salary, where you put the employee name, you put a new salary, and you can even specify some default values for the parameters you're passing on. And then you can pass return either a message or a variable or some other component that you want. So the return is used to explicitly specify what is the return value. So we used to have a rule that the return statement had to be the last statement in the procedure body. Now, if you have the return statement in the middle of the body, the rest of the code will not do anything. It won't be executed. And if there is no return in the middle of a procedure, then the last statement is going to be passed return in the end of the procedure. So let me just explain this. Let me just demonstrate this for you. I'm just gonna create a new procedure. I'm gonna leave it as procedure name. I'm gonna pass along a parameter. I'm gonna say, I forgot to share. Thank you. Uh, where's Zoom? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, I forgot to share. So here's my screen. So I'm gonna put along one parameter, and I'm gonna say that I want to do, for example, var a equals event dot, and now I'm just gonna put event plus 5, and I'm not gonna put any return. So when I have to save it, execute it. So when I execute it, it will allow me to select something. As I know, I need to put I'm gonna add something there. I can put an integer. I'm gonna put like 5. Yeah, just 5. Execute, and as you can see, there was no return, so it returned me the last statement, the result of the last statement. If I put something like return it worked, and execute it, I can put again 5. It will return me the value that I did. If I put return a, I can even say return and put an object a and event, save, execute, 5, return A equals 10, event equals 5. So I can put, for example, some description. This is a task. And this description will show up, well, should show up here. Let me put a integer. I think it's a description. Yeah, so now it's an integer and this is a test. So I explained what is this value that I'm waiting for. This description can only be seen in the Vantiq interface. So it's useful for all the developers to see what do you mean, or what are you expecting when you're inserting for the variable here. So this, I could put, instead of this task, I put use an integer here to calculate the bonus. So just silly stuff, or in this case here my example, but you can put it to make sure that whenever you're creating properties procedures that are going to be published in the catalog or going to be published to other developers to use, they know what you're expecting. Especially because whenever you're doing in the catalog, it's, for example, if you put I'm just gonna put Adriano dot procedure name. So this has now become rename. This has now become a service. So my service now has its procedure available. And in my case here, I have no catalogs in this namespace. If I go to my other namespace, when I have a procedure, let's grab a procedure here. I'm gonna get this one, duplicate, and yeah, let's duplicate this one as it is. But I'm gonna change it for Adriano dot anomaly detection. Save, rename. Now it became a procedure from a service, and I can publish it to the catalog. And in the other side of the catalog, if I don't explain what is the object that I'm waiting for, the developer may not understand what's going on, because what we expose in the procedure in the catalog is just the title, the inputs, and what is the return object. Okay. Let's continue here. So if you want to call the procedure from inside another procedure, you can call it as just the name of the procedure, or you can use execute and then change the name of the procedure. Or in my case, as you saw me, I call it using the execute button. The calling a procedure from internally from inside another one might be really useful for you guys. And using the execute command is also very useful, because if you put execute, it will pop up a populate or pop up on all the name of the other procedures we have in your namespace. So I could put this one, calculate bonus number. If you want to execute this procedure in any other connected namespaces, you could also do that. So I'm going to show you a little bit later. So you could have like being executed remotely, and then the parameter being returned to you here. Continue here. So these are some of the parameters that you can pass along. So you can say it's a string, it's an integer, real, date, decimal, currency, GeoJSON, resource reference, an object, and any of these components can be arrays. And now we can even put a typed integer. So in the version 1.30, that's the last one, I can say that this object is actually the type equipo. Let me put it here. So it can be a equipo. So if I save, ah, it's, let me put in another one. This one's not, no, I would create a new one. Procedure, new procedure, procedure name, test. Let me put it dot test. I'm gonna say I'm gonna receive an object, and it's gonna be equipo. So based on my integer here, sorry, on my type here. So when I execute, I am expecting an object just like this. In my case here, it pre-populates for me the properties that I'm expecting to receive. So it's even easier for somebody, some other developer to understand what is it that I'm expecting from my property. So this was created now in version 1.30, and it's amazingly helpful for us to develop. Um, I've talked about this. I talked about the description. I showed this already. Rules. So rules look like a procedure, but they have one big difference. They have a when clause. This when clause is what will make the rule be activated. And then the rules can only be run whenever that condition, that event happens. So here is an example of a rule. So a rule called on insert order when insert occurs on other. So whenever there's an insert on this table, this rule will run. You can have a when or a before clause to state when you want this rule to be executed, and they're very similar to a clause in SQL. So let me show you here. Instead of a procedure, let's do a rule. And these rules, they don't get any input parameter. There's nothing here as an input. And you cannot have like a service. You cannot say Adriano.test. This doesn't work. The rule has only one name, cannot be published in the catalog. It cannot be reutilized by another namespace. The only way these rules will run is when you put, for example, when, and then you have an event occurs in a certain way. So you can have when insert uh, occurs in, and you can put the name of the type. So let me just take a look. Yeah, on. That's why it didn't show up on. I thought it was weird because it didn't pop up. It's I put in instead of on. So I can say, oh, when insert occurs on equipo, when update occurs on equipo, when delete occurs on equipo. So when each one of these conditions occurs on a type, and you can put, for example, as, you can, let's say my variable, I'm gonna call it Adriano. As Adriano, then you start working. In my situation here, let me put a update. I know that there's a lot of updates happening in this equipment, in this equipo table. So I know that I can put this is a variable, and I can do so that we can see something. Let me see. I'm gonna use this variable here. Let me close this test so we can see. I'm gonna publish Adriano to topic Adrig slash my. So I'm gonna save. So now you see it's already being published something. I can take a look. They here you're gonna see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it's publishing all the 5 events that are coming. So I could say where the equipo ID equals equipo 5. So now I'm limiting. Oops. do I have to put this? Adriano dot equipo 5, equipo ID. Yes. So now I'm limiting to publish only if the name of the equipo is equipo 5. I could put further activation constraints. For example, if the temperature is equal to 100, I could put, for example, and Adriano.temp equals 160. So now I wouldn't be seeing anything until the temperature is actually equals 160. That just happened. So it would just not work, not process until I see it there. I in my interface I can enable or disable a rule. So now it is just a text. It's not working. If I re-enable it, then now it's listening to events to happen. Aside from update, we may have a message arriving from a source. So you may have an MQTT source that you're listening to, or you can put like when publish occurs on, and then you can see happening on a topic. In one thing that I want to show you, so when publish occurs on, and it's a topic, I'm gonna put stream/temp. I forgot the first slash. As Adriano. I'm not gonna filter anything. I just wanted to publish. So I want you guys to see what happens. Now, when I have a new publishing of temperature, take a look on how my property is being published. There's a few more fields than before. So when I have a rule and I'm listening to a topic, it creates for me a field called topic with the name of the topic that I'm listening to, a field called new value, and the properties that are arriving, the values that are arriving, and I have a couple more that's not important right now, but we could also use in future. So here, if I try to put like something like this, like where Adriano.temp equals 160, for example, my rule will never run. Let me just close this. My rule will never run. Why? Because there's the new value that will be created and put into Adriano. So here we should do like Adriano.new value.temp. So this would enable our rule to be activated. Instead of temp, let me put a equipo ID. Actually, it's not a equipo ID, it's the temp sensor ID. And I think it's temp sensor 1. Let's see if I got it right. Yeah, so I got it right. So because it's inside the new value. So this is something that's pretty usual for us to forget and make a rule that won't work. So I would like you to at least see this once before you start writing your rules, because this makes we make a lot of mistakes because of that. Let me see. Okay, showed you this. Yes, I also showed you this. So this is a quite interesting scenario. So let's say that I have exactly the same rule, but instead of putting where Adriano a new value equals, let's say that I want to do if Adriano okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm receiving my rule, and if the name is temper sensor 1, I'm publishing this Adriano here. I could even publish, let's say, dot new value to topic. So what I'm doing here is I'm receiving all values. I'm identifying when one of them is from temp sensor 1, and I'm publishing it to my other topic. Where before I was actually, let's say, filtering right away. Let's put it here. Let's just publish the temperature value so we know it's changed. So before, like this, I was only publishing it when I see that when the rules condition is met. And when I use the if, I'm always running and then I'm executing my condition. So this is interesting for us to see. Yeah, so that's where I wanna show. So this one is important for us to understand, because although it may seem the same to put a where, for example, where sensor.temp higher than 100, might look exactly the same if I run it like this, when insert occurs on sensor, if sensor.temp higher than 100, then do something. Although they might look exactly the same, when you do this where clause, the rule is only activated, let's say, once. And this time here, we are activating the rule every single time. No matter if doesn't matter if it's over 100 or below 100, but the rule is always activated, and then we are doing an execution conditionally to the value of temperature. So this one is less performatic than this one. This one is going to be run much less than this. But if we find ourselves in a situation where, for example, let's say that 50% of the sensor types are temperature and 50% of the sensor types are vibration. If we do a rule that will only run where the sensor type is equal temperature, and another one that's going to run only where sensor type equals vibration, if each of them are going to run only 50% of the time, it would be exactly the same in this scenario if you create a if to do something or something else based on the sensor. Because in the end, they would always run this guy 50% of the time, this guy other 50% of the time, and this one would always run 100% of the time. So they would actually be equally performance, would get equally performance. I show you the topic and the new value. Let me see. This is another example. Yeah, so this was the rule and procedure session. So now, do you want to talk? Okay, I'll let Shangan.
뭐 이미 이제 개발하고 계신 분들이시니까 룰하고 프로시저 차이는 잘 아실 것 같고, 그래서 보면은 룰은 이제 어떤 조건이 될 때 실행하는 이제 그런 상황인 거고, 그 프로시저는 잘 아시는 것처럼 이제 파라미터 값 받아가지고서 실행하는 거고, 그런 차이가 있다 정도 그냥 이해하시면 될 것 같아요. 어차피 근데 그 벤틱은 함수는 펑션은 없어요, right? We don't have function. We don't have function.
Yeah, no, we don't have.
우리 벤틱아에 펑션은 없고요. 그러니까 프로시저하고 룰 가지고서 이제 사용할 수 있고, 뭐 차이는 뭐 말씀드린 것처럼 이해하시면 될 것 같고요.
All right, so now I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna talk about the select statement. So select in Vantiq, it used to both talk to the, let's say, the internal database and also to external sources. So the internal way to talk to, let's say, the database is where you do a select, that's a query. You can do an insert, update, delete, and upsert. I'm going to talk about it. And you can also do some alter, drop, or create in some of the other resources. So when you do an alter, it's different than an update because you don't generate an update event. But when you do an insert, update, or delete, you will generate an event. When you do an upsert, the upsert is exactly like you're doing a combination of an insert and update. So upsert will look for the object that you're inserting for the natural key. If it already exists, it does an update. If it doesn't exist, then it do an insert. And then you also gonna have an insert or update events. If you're connecting to an external source, that's why it has here a REST remote, you can also use a select. It's almost like you're doing a query in a REST API and passing along some parameters and getting the response back. So I'm also going to show you in a bit. So as I said a little bit before, we have the capabilities of executing let's say a procedure or a query distributedly. So if you're running um, if you want to run a procedure or you want to do a select in types that are distributed along many Vantiq nodes, you could do a process by, and it will make that Vantiq looks at all the connected nodes, send that select statement or the execute statement, and it will make that all those that match this query process your select or your execute command, and then return the value to the originating node. So this will make you truly uh, capable of querying uh, as many nodes that you have connected to Vantiq, to your executing Vantiq node, and returning everything in a very timely manner, and in a way that if, for example, you can put within a, a time interval, you can say, oh, I want everything to be executed under 30 seconds. If it's over 30 seconds, it will drop. You can put this select to be executed just like a for. So there's also the possibility to do terminating condition when you doing a select. And if you have an error or a remote error, you can also execute something different. I know it's kind of let's say complicated to just see here, but with the examples it will become a little bit easier. Uh, Quick thing before we start seeing examples on selecting or insert in Veil, I'm going to talk about the REST and remote interfaces. So whenever you're doing a select on a remote resource, you can pass along the method that you want to do. For example, you want to do a get, a post, a put, or a patch. If you don't put anything, Vantiq will assume you're doing a get. You're doing a get, but you can also do a select and pass along some parameters doing a post, a put, or a patch. The path of your query, if the REST source has only the URL, I mean the base URL, you can pass along fragments, headers, and then of course the body. You can specify the content type and the response type. So here's an example. For example, you can attribute that select into a variable. So we put variable some data equals select from source, some source with path equal API get data method get. Just to show something more real, let me get you a procedure that I have with Google. But yeah, get directions. So here, let me show you procedure. No, not procedure. Sorry, source Google directions. So in this Google directions here, I have the URL of the Google API, so I don't need to pass the path along. So I already have the path here. This is my source. So I built the query as an object. So I put along some of the objects that Google Directions API is waiting for. So there's origin, destination, travel mode, the key, and I'm passing along this query parameter using a select from source, and I put like Google Directions API with query equals query parameters. In this case here, what I'm getting, let me show you guys. I'm using some variables here, and I'm getting all the content from Google, from this Google um, source. If I put, for example, another component as full response equals true, now Vantiq will also pass along to the directions variable the return of the HTTP query, the get. So here you can see the status, the headers, some of there's a content. There's also somewhere the content content types here, and some other information. And what Vantiq actually puts in the variable, if I don't put the as full response equals true, is exactly the body of the answer. So just showing again, if I comment this rest out, execute, we only see the body. As you can see, it's a variable. Sorry, it's an array. So if I were to see only some components there, let's say the geocoded waypoints, and then geocoder status. Let me just hit this. I could put, for example, return their var directions. I can put 0 dot geocoded waypoints, 0 dot oops dot geocoded. I forgot. Let's geocoded something. I forgot. Let me see it again. Save, execute, execute. That was geocoded status. Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay, so this is an object. You can play with it. You can return parts of the component. It's the select will help you to query types, will query sources. Let me just go back to the slides and then I'll come back here. So this is remote. There's a on the select. Whenever we work with the select, I showed you a little bit before, you can have like sequence or an array. You can specify if you want as many as you find, if you want just one, or if you're expecting to have just one, or if you expect to have exactly one. And I'm going to talk about the difference. You can put the properties that you want to grab from either the source or type, and you can do some other conditions. So you can put like group by, order by, ascended or descended. But one thing that you got to understand, Vantiq is not a database-oriented platform. So you cannot do joins here. You can grab the information, you can put everything in an event, but this will never return to you a table. It might even return you an array, but it's not a table. So you won't be able to do a join, inner join, outer join with other types. Okay. When you're doing the where condition, you can use equals, different, greater than, greater or equal. You can put if it's inside or in an array of an array or a list of values, or you can even use a regular expression to generate the query that you want. So let's say that you want anything that has the equipo ID, that has the regular expression that starts with EQ. Just an example. So let me show you this. This is pretty interesting. So uh, uh let me click. Let me grab the other procedure that I did. Adriano procedures test. Let me. So here I'm not gonna have anything. Yeah, I'm not gonna have anything right now. So I'm just gonna do a select everything from equipo. So now when I execute it, it will return to me an array with all the components that has in the equipo table. It's only 5. So if I want to see only the where equipo ID equals equipo1, execute, I have here my object. But pay attention, it's still just one. Sorry, it's still an array. So if I want it to be not an array, I could put, for example, var resp equals, and I put return resp 0. Execute. Now it's not an array anymore. And take a look at what happens if I don't put this. If I don't put the equipo, and I still just returning the first one. So the first one that it got returned was equipo 2. So having the first one doesn't mean it's gonna be it's not gonna be on an ascending order if it's not set here. One other thing that I could do is I could, and this is pretty interesting, I could, let me just think. I could let me follow this, otherwise I'm gonna get lost with the examples. Yeah, I showed you this. Show you this. Okay, let me show you the one or more. So if I put select one from equipo where equipo ID equals equipo, now let's see what resp returns. Now resp returns me an object that's not a variable, not an array, because I specify that I'm expecting just one. I'm not asking it to return to me the top one. That's completely different. I'm asking it to find one. Let's say that I'm looking for equipo 6. If I ask it to return me one and it didn't find equipo 6, it will return me null. If I say I want to anything that equipo 6, it will return me as empty array. So depending on what you want to do, you may want to do differently. So, but let's see what happens if I put exactly 1. If I put exactly 1, and I'm gonna put equipo 1, it will return me that exactly 1 object. But if I put exactly 1 and I don't find it, it will give me an error. It could not be found. If I find more than 1, so let's say I want to see where, I think I can put just like this, where equipo ID. No, where equipo ID, if I don't know. Okay, so if it finds more than 1, it will also throw me an error. More than 1. More than 1 instance was found. Same thing will happen for 1. So more than 1 instance was found. So 1 and exactly 1 is more on the expectations that you have. So let's say that you're working with let's say because I'm foreigner, I'm gonna give an example of my passport. Let's say that you're working with an entry on passport. So you can only have one entry on the passport for my name. So if you find more than one passport in my name, it should give you an error or an exception, or you can think about a different situation where you could use it. I've already talked about this. This is some of the width or properties or things that you can use. So let me do equipo with limit equals 2. So save, execute. Oops. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Forgot to clear the one. Okay, so now we got like only 2 guys here. They would be the 2 first ones, not based in ID or anything, but based on what got returned from the table. One thing that we can do. So let me show you two ways of iterating through everything there's in a type. So here I'm putting resp as a variable. So I could do, for example, for r in resp, I want to iterate. Let me do var temp. Well, let's put count, var count. So here, for each one of them equals 0, I'm gonna do count plus plus to iterate it. So now I should get, yeah, let me see what I'm gonna get for. It was actually, I think, yeah, because it was the last one. Return count. Execute 5. Because the last count that he had was 4. Now it's the last one before finishing the 4. Now it's 5. But this is one way to iterate around the select, and that was the way that I first started doing this. Later, I understood that I don't need to do this. I could go directly. I could do the interaction directly from the select. Let me put this here. And instead of having to put this, select allows us to interact around it. So when I do select from equipo, for each one of them, it will do this operation and then will return me the count. So it's more streamlined or cleaner and has the same result. If you need to work with something in here, one thing you could do is like as, you can put as r, and then you can say r.temp. Let's say let's just do r.temp, or let's do count equals r.temp, return count. So in the end, it's just gonna put the last temperature here. So when we execute, r is gonna be 259. We could do add the next one, so it will put a much higher value. But let's say, no, let me just go back here and take a look. Let me explain. I'm gonna explain this later. I've talked about this. Talked about this. No, so let me talk about this now. So Vantiq has a safe limitation or safeguard a protection that you can only select, create an array with a limit with 10,000 records. So if you have a type that has 200,000 items inside and you do a select, the result will not be the result of that select will not be all the 200,000 items. It will just be the first 10,000 items, because there's a limit on the array size. So a way for you to do a select in a type that has more than 10,000 records is by using a sequence. So in that case, what we can do is iterate along with the sequence, so that you can do all the math that you need, all the calculations that you need, instead of doing returning a whole array and then doing a for inside of it. So if the sequence is a much more performatic way to work on large objects, large set types or type sets. So one idea that we can see it here is if we could put, for example, select sequence. So this return a sequence. We could put if we put, for example, var resp equals select, that will return an array. This is an array. One other thing, I think it's a little bit further in the in the in the slides, is something that I find really interesting. So let me remove this. I think I have to have this. Let me see. I don't remember. I don't quite remember. But let's do the following. So select, instead of selecting everything, I'm gonna ask for a count. I'm gonna put select count equals count of a equal ID. So this will ask Bongo for the amount of the objects inside the equipo based on the type equipo ID. So yeah, I had to declare it. I was almost positive that I had to do this. I just wasn't sure. So now if I do this, hmm, why am I? Because I'm. Let me do select var resp equals return resp. That's how we see the answer. My bad. Anyway, let me put a keep ID again. A keep ID. Run, execute. Yeah, so that's what I was looking for. So inside the answer, the rest, instead of getting the whole objects, you're just getting that information that you need. The count equals 5. If you want, for example, average, I'm just gonna leave it as count. But if I want the average of the temperature, you don't have to calculate everything yourself. You can just ask for Mongo. It's not average. A level max. I forgot the terminology. Yeah, so it returned me the maximum. I thought it was max average. Average. No. So you have to take a look on. You can look at for Mongo and see how to calculate this. So I don't want to make a. Let me. I did this. Mongo DB how to get average. I think it's maybe mean average. Oh, AVG. AVG. Yeah, I knew it was average, but I didn't remember it was like just average AVG. Anyway, so this is a good way for you to do some calculations. But remember, if you have like huge database, it's not gonna be any faster. It's gonna take quite some time to do all these calculations. Let me go back to the slides. So insert. If you want to insert, update, or upsert objects into a type, you can do it using, let me do this. You can do it. Let me see if yesterday I created some types, didn't I? Yeah, my type. So let me see the properties. Oh, too much. Let me just keep, I'm just gonna keep age, ID, age, ID, and name. Okay. Let me see if I have let me just delete this natural key for now so that you guys see that what happens. So now I have my type. Let me see if I have any records. Delete, yes. So if I want to insert obj, so if I want to insert my type, I can put the values that I want here. So I can say, for example, you can put the if it was like what a variable and the name. So let's say age equals 43, ID equals UID. It's a function, internal function of Vantiq, and name equals Adriana. So if I save, execute it, blah, there it goes. So what I get in return is the object that was created. Refresh. If I want to update it, I can update it. Now, instead of doing this, I'm gonna do a little bit different. I'm gonna do like age, semicolon, 43, for let's say 44, just to be different. And I'm gonna say where name equals Adriana. So I'm gonna save, execute. There you go. I just updated. But if let's say I don't know if it exists or not. So I want to do an upsert. I'm gonna upsert in the my type. I'm gonna do, now this time I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna do object equals this. Let's put this, ID equals, yeah, ID, UID, name. I'm gonna put Shangon. Oh, I forgot the string. So ID, and I have no idea what's Shangon age, so I'm gonna put age 55. I'm just kidding. I don't know, so I'm gonna put in anything. And I'm gonna put upsert obj. Save. So what's gonna happen now? Even though it doesn't exist, it's gonna give you an error because I don't have a natural key. So it doesn't know what it should look for. So I have an index that's the ID, and now I'm gonna add the ID as also a natural key. So I'm gonna save. And now it's gonna take a look if it's gonna be the same. So I'm gonna do an execute. And as the ID is different, it's gonna allow me to create it. And even if now, let's get this ID here. So now that it's the same one, let's say now the Shanghai is 35. So when I update it or upsert, it will do an update and will not complain. So now it was 55, now it's 35. So this is also a nice way for you to do updates or upserts whenever you're not sure that you're gonna have to update. It's quicker than writing the check to check if the right exists or not, and then do a query, do a where. But this is let's say processing consuming. If you know you're going to do updates, if you're sure that you're going to do an update, instead of using upsert, please use update. It's going to be much more performatic and time wise. Let me get back to the slides. Update, update examples, upsert, delete. Delete is exactly like the update, but you have to have a where condition. Um, I've shown you that you can use objects to put inside it. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk to you. I want to talk briefly about client builder. So we've seen. Let's just go back here. Here. So we've seen types, the schema and the standard types. We saw inbounds and outbound sources. We saw the app builder. We saw event broker and the catalog, where you can do event broker and service broker. We saw the veil, how you create procedures and rules in veil. We saw how to use the select statement. And now we're gonna take a look at the client builder. Client builder was first created, let me go here. Client builder was first created as a way for us to test our applications that we are designing in Vantiq. But it is so easy to use that it's becoming every day more and more popular. So since the first version that we created the client builder, customers have asked for more and more functionality and properties, so that they start using Vantiq as the front end as well. So with the client builder, I forgot to show this. Sorry, let me show again. You can create interfaces for a browser or for the mobile app. On the mobile app, you got to remember that we're talking here about the Vantiq mobile app. You can rebrand it. You can have the logo change, the colors change, the name change, and republish it to the App Store, Google Play, or Apple App Store with your own name. But this is made to be sent to the Vantiq mobile app. Okay. So in the dashboard, we have some components. I'm gonna show you the mobile later. So this is the way I'm developing this for the browser. So you may have like different types of layouts, like a vertical layout, a horizontal, an accordion, a fixed menu. So this accordion is much more. It's likely to be used by menus. Okay, where you have the collapsible menu. You have a flow layout, a grid layout, and a tab layout. I'm gonna show you each one of them. So let me start to show you the layout using, for example, the buttons. So in a layout, you could have, for example, let me put in this one button by side by side with another one, or you could have a one button that would be. Let me just change this the layout. I'm gonna say it's explicit again, and I could have on one big button, or you could have it being side by side, or maybe one on top of the other. So here you can see that everything that I throw inside these two layouts, they will go according to what we saw here. In the accordion menu, I'm gonna throw a menu there, another menu there. If I put it outside, it's gonna be at anywhere. But if I put inside the accordion menu, it's gonna be collapsible. So in the top right here, you can see there's a little play button. So in this play button, I can click and I could see the menu working. The layouts, there's nothing in my button, so there's nothing to do. This one is the flow. So let me show you some of the other components that we have. So you can put, for example, a text display. Well, oh, my bad. This is a fixed display, not a layout. Yeah, this is a fixed layout. Sorry, not a flow. So the fixed layout just tells you that everything's gonna be inside this box. The flow, that's this one. It will go on a flow on whatever you're putting inside. So by this size here, you can put everything side by side. But after it reach the size limit, it will then flow down. So here you can see there's now more space to put more stuff on top. So if I put before the Vantiq image, it will go sideways. If I put below it, it will go aside from the other button here. In Vantiq, we have, for example, a way to display text, icons, images, gauges, number. So this one is a grid. This grid is a 4x4. So I can put, for example, one object by the side of the other. Let me put I'm gonna put a line chart here, and I'm gonna put a column chart in here. Let me put this one here. All right. So you see this is a 4x4. If I wanted to put it bigger, it's here. I could put like a 4. It's actually 2x2. If I wanted 4x5, now it has more spaces for me to put it in here. I could even put another layout inside the grid layout. I'm gonna put it down here. All right. I'm gonna put this other layout. In here. Okay. So, and the last one that I want to show is the tab layout. So you may have different types, different tabs, and in each one of the tabs, you may want to show something different. So in here, I'm showing this list. In the tab number 2, I'm gonna show you the pie. And in the 3 one, I'm gonna show you image viewer. You see the image gets a little not cropped, but you don't see the whole image. You would have to expand this to be able to see it. Vantiq also has the ability to allows you to have, for example, a document viewer, so you can configure what type of information that you want to show to the user and the URL, so the user can click on that button and see it. And if none of these, let's say, is helpful for you, you can always use an HTML viewer and edit the code as you like. So if you want to put a video, a picture, if you want to put a HTML code in here, you can use it. And how about CSS? Yes, you can load a CSS directly into Vantiq and make Vantiq look exactly as your application is supposed to. And are you limited to these? I forgot. There's some. There are a few more on the bottom too. Sorry. So you also have a map widget where you can connect to a data stream, and I'm gonna talk about it, where you can show some based on GeoJSON. You can show some locations. You have a plan, a floor plan. You can also show it some location of people inside a let's say a floor plan map. You have something that we use all the time, a table, a widget, that when you connect it to a data stream, you can even select the properties that you want to show. And you can also allow a user to do a chat with another user using the chat widget or the chat component in the mobile app. And you also have a calendar widget here. One thing that I was talking about. So each that I was going to talk about, each one of these guys has different events. So the button has a on click. The map has just the on context menu. The chat, no, has nothing there. The table, it has aside from the on context menu, you may have a on select. That's when you click on a line. On deselect, when you click and then you click again, I mean on the same line, you have the on button on checkbox because you may have a button or a checkbox there. An image because one of the, let me just get rid of this. So let me get out of here. So an image because one of the columns may be an image. You may want to pop up a page with a bigger image. You may want to, whenever you format the cell, you may want to have an alert. You may format the cell background, so whenever that happens, you have a different type of action. They can be connected to data streams. So these guys, aside from the, in this case, a non-click or a specific events, you may have specific data streams that you may listen to. A calendar, you will have like several events. So on drag stop, on drag start, event drop, event resize, on mouse enter, mouse leave. You can do several activities here. And let's say that none of these widgets serve your needs. What else would you need? What else could you do? Vantiq also supports you to import a custom JavaScript, so you can have a different type of I don't know, component, an object. So let me give you an example. Let me grab a new client, another client in dashboard. So here in my dashboard, in my second page, you're not seeing anything but these 4 widgets. But when I run it, and I'm gonna click on this table, I'm gonna click on a keep of 5. It goes for another page. So this is one of the activities on click, and these 2 are JavaScript objects. So when I come to this page, I'm loading 2 JavaScript gauges, a little bit different from this one, but as you can see, it's the same value. And the RPMS gauge is the same values here. So you could have this kind of information based on this kind of object based on your system. So these ones, they are showing, for example, a very high level, high temperature, very high RPMS, and because of this, it's showing different colors. So it's a nice type of object. You can think about objects, or you can see it in the internet, and then you can just import them to your client builder. Let me get back to this one. These objects that you saw, that I was showing you, they're basically for data display. If you want to have a data input, I'm going to skip these 5 here in the beginning. For example, if you want to have, let me create a new page. Put a simple single page. I'm going to talk about these events later. So if you want to have, for example, a user, enable a user to markup is also markup is also something for the phone. So let me go ahead. So we have some widgets that are made specifically for the mobile app. So audio, video. That's why I don't like the symbol. let's put a mobile now. Okay. So the mobile, as you can see, the mobile, it's um, slimmer than the desktop. So if I can have an audio, I can have a video, I can have a camera, I can have a barcode or QR code reader, I can have a map, and I can have a markup. These 6 components, they're made for the phone. If I try to run it from the browser, let me just put a button. I have to get one of the buttons. Let's get this big one to go to the mobile page. Save, run. So the big one will go there. So if I try to use it, it will give me an error saying that's not supported in the browser. Show map, not supported in the browser. These are made for the phone. So if I want to use them on my phone, it will grab from the mobile Vantiq mobile app for example, the GPS coordinates. Let me try to show you on my phone, because these are very, very cool actually. So this is the manufacturing EN. Okay, let me get the QuickTime Player. File, remote recording, Google. I'm just finishing logging in my phone. Oops. Manufacturing. So as the chat widget that I said before is this one. So in my phone, there's nothing. Oh, on the play here, there's nothing I can see. So let me change this. I'm going to, yeah, I'm gonna try to show you something. So here, I can. So let me just show. Here I can say the type of layout that I want for my component. In the properties here of the client builder, so I have the client property, I can say that my client, the target device is browser, mobile, or both. So in this case, I'm gonna put both. And in the advanced tab, I can mark as launchable. So when I click in mark as launchable and hit OK, save, now it will be enabled for me to show up on my phone. Let me just put here. So now it's showing up in my phone. So demo client builder. If I click here, it will render the whole page of my phone as a browser. But I know that if I click on the first one, now it came from the widget that I was showing you. So the audio recording is a basic recorder. The video recording, I can select from a camera roll or start recording a video. To take the photo, it's just a photograph. I can use the photo, retake it. Let me just use the photo. Scan barcode scanner. I can now, for example, scan a barcode. So you see it scanned the barcode. Or if I had a QR code, that I'm not sure if I have one. Let me just, I usually carry some QR codes around with me. Just see. QR code. Oh, all right, thank you. So Shangan helped me with the QR code. So if I want to scan a QR code, as you can see, it will scan the QR code for me. If I want to ask for a location on the map, I can say, I can write something here, just so that you know. Let me just change it here. Show map, instead of put show map, I'm gonna say, please select your location. So not now because it's already loaded in my phone, but I could I could change it to, for the next time I load this, it's gonna be, please select your location. But for example, for now, it is showing my current location, and I can select another location. So it would be, I'm actually, it would be sending 2 locations to Vantiq. Take a photo and mark it up. So this is actually pretty cool. I can take a photo and use this photo to do some markups. So I can do a drawing, say this is wrong. I can change the color. This is wrong. Oh, sorry, you guys are not seeing. My bad. Did you see the QR code and stuff? Anyway, I don't know if you saw it all, sorry. But this is, I was showing this and I was looking at my phone, not at the screen. Let me go show the map again. So this is the map. The QR code is here at the top. I took a picture. So these could all be sent to Vantiq if I had put a button down here and I forgot. But just continue the demonstration. I could have, for example, a field for signature. I could have a feature for date, date time, integer. As you can see, we have some small tooltips on the right here. We could you could keep it, or you could, for example, remove them. Style, you can remove. Depending on the situation, for example, if you're gonna show and it's gonna be like read only, there's no need you want to leave there. No point in leaving the object there. You can just remove the tooltip. But you can also have a default value. You can have a label. This is the label. You could have something in there like this is the tooltip. And inside you can see put this is the placeholder, and so on and so forth. And you can say the type of input. So it will kind of validate what you're looking for. So let me just remove the read only. If I save, run, go there. So the signature field works also on the browser. Set date time, it will show you a field for the date. The date and time will also show you a field for time. This is an integer. If I put other stuff, it will complain later. If I put here something different than my email, it also complains. But it complains on the time when I send this when I send this page. I can put a multi-line. I can put a checkbox. The checkbox can look as like an iPhone checkbox, or can look as a traditional checkbox. Radio buttons, and sorry, a drop list, a combo box, and an object. So you could create an object there. One thing that I want to tell you, what is it? I forgot. Okay, so these are all objects that you can input. So in many of these guys, these widgets, when you talk about data display, the component that you're gonna show, let me put a map here. I'm gonna put the map. Look at the map here. So the data here is based on data stream, something that it's entering Vantiq or the client builder. So you should create a data stream to have something to show. So let me just have something new, something clean. Otherwise, it's going to be too complicated, too confusing. So here on the client, let's create a new. Let me see test. What is test? Yeah. So this one is a good one. So let me grab a new map. It could be this one. So I need a data stream. So in this case, there's no data stream here. So what I can do is I can come to data stream, and data streams are, as the name says, a data stream, coming from Vantiq. So I can be looking at a type for any data changed. So I select a type, let's say my type, and I'm looking for an insert, update, or delete on the type. Or I could be looking at a publish event. So I could be looking, let's say, I can put any name that I want, and I'm looking at a topic. So I'm looking at a demo topic for something to come here and display it. Or let me just delete this. I could be looking at a source event. So I'm looking in one of my sources, Google Directions, email sender, whatever source I may have for the data to arrive. Or I can be doing a timed query. The timed query is quite useful, although it's not many times the best one, because a timed query, you can be, let's say, querying at let's call it timed query. You can be querying a type. I'm gonna call query equipo in specific specific intervals. So let's put 600 seconds every 10 minutes, and it will bring everything. But it will also allow you to filter it based on something that you want. So in this scenario here, I'm gonna leave it as it is, and I'm gonna attach this map to this timed query. So I can select which is the data stream that I'm gonna put it here. As it's a map, Vantiq automatically filters for me only the GeoJSON properties. I can put one of the label property, and I can use a marker hash to select a different type of a pin. So in here in specific, I could select markers to represent inside my map instead of using the traditional Google pin. I'm not gonna drill down on the map widgets. It's just for you guys to see. So here in my map, it's showing one pin. If I were to filter it out, it would change what I'm showing, just like what I'm doing here in my dashboard. So in my dashboard, when I show it, I have 5 different equipments. So when I go to the page one, to the Equipo one, let's say Equipo one page, what I'm doing in here is that I'm showing the values, the location for equipment one, the internal location for equipment one, RPMS and temperature specific for equipment one. And how do I do it? I do it by filtering some information of the timed parameter on the equipment. So now that I talked about the data streams, I want to talk about the event handlers. So several places, we have several event handlers that you can use. So one of the events in the client that you can use is on start. So whenever the client starts, on end. So whenever the client terminates, on assets loaded, or on network status change. So you can create some special events that whenever the assets that you have put it here finish loading, you can do specific configuration. Whenever you detect there was a status change on network, so if you're developing an application for your phone and you detect the user has gone offline, you can prepare to not send the data until it's online again. You can also have event handlers at the page level. So you also have the on client start. It's launched after the on start of the client. You may have on start for each single page. So in this one, you may see here I did some coding here. On end, when the page when the user accesses the page, when there's a validation on context menu, what is the context menu of the page? You have a specific event handlers, for example, in the button where you have the on click This one, you don't have any event, but I created one. I created a event handler listener at the on start page by adding a listener to the map object. So you can also do that. So Vantiq Client Builder gives you a lot of flexibility to build your dashboard, your portal, the way you better see fit. The zinc charts, one thing that I would like to mention, the zinc charts also give you a lot of flexibility. Sometimes not necessarily from here, from the properties, but you can come to, let's say, let me see the developer guide, and you can search for the bar chart. It will give you some ideas on what you can do, some extra configuration that you can do on the properties of the charts, and you can also go to the bar charts from Zinc and take a deeper look and see what you could do. So you can do all these type of configurations here inside of Vantiq. You just have to understand what you need to pass along, and then do that directly inside of Vantiq. Let me see. I showed you the page. Let me go to the slides to see what I missed. I know. I just remember some components that I missed. So in the properties here, I showed you the mark as launchable. That's really important for you to know. There's a property called mark as public. When you put the mark as public, Vantiq will allow a non-authenticated user to access the page, but there's a limitation there. Whenever you have a public page and it's being used by a non-authenticated user, any type of data streams don't work. Inserts or information being sent back to the server doesn't work as an authenticated user would. So you'd have to you need to take a look at the documentation to see what's the available process that you can run. So you can run a public procedure, you can post to a topic, but there are many other things that you cannot do directly. You can restrict user to be run a page or a client to be run only by specific users, and whenever this specific user runs that client on the mobile phone, it will launch it automatically. You can create sidebar, you can create a top bar, you can see in a grid, you can see the outlines, you can see the grid lines, the grid cells, and also you can apply custom CSS, and you can configure the data stream timeout. Just to show you how it looks like, this would be how it looks like: the top bar, the sidebar, the outline, and the grid layout. Another component that you will have is the theme. You can change the theme colors in here, and Vantiq also supports localization. So directly from the Vantiq UI, you can create symbols or detect which one are available on the text, so that you can have different values based on the language that you're setting. So you could also have, for example, let me go to another one that I have COVID. I think it's a COVID. This one I have a way to show it better. Yeah. So let me show the client. It's the smart building client. So in this menu, you can see all these tags here: add menu, accordion, main title, so when I run it, you won't see it. Sorry, you won't see as a tag. It's currently in Spanish. Yeah, still in Spanish. I was in a little bit of doubt if it's Spanish or Portuguese. But for example, for test purposes, you could select what language you wanna test it on. So in localization, you could say, oh, I want to test it in Spanish, I want to test it in English, I want to test it in Portuguese, I want to test in language A or B or C, and you could import the JSON properties that you have created, so or export them also to 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 be able to translate them. Uh, let's just see in Portuguese. It's very similar. I should have maybe put it in English. Edifícios, so espaços, descrição. It's very similar to Spanish, but there's a few specific changes. So this is just a way to show you that you could have different types of properties of events. So in this case here, we have, let me just see, we have a CSS. We have several JavaScripts. You could have offline assets or document assets to be loaded to the phone. We have a custom code, so we have specific functions that can be used everywhere in the code. Oh, I missed to talk about update objects. So one thing that's pretty useful is that every page that we create, and in this case, you can see that we created several pages. You may have data objects specific for each page, or you can even have client data objects that's going to be used by all the pages of the client. So let's see what this case doesn't have any, but we could have like every page could have different page properties. So in this case, you can see the page properties. They're based on the type, and these page properties or client data objects, you can use them to show or to be used by the client by the data input widgets. So let me go to a page. I think this page has. No, I choose a page that didn't have. Low line modify. So yeah. So this one, you can see it's connected to a data object. This one is connected to another data object. And then when you click, for example, in submit, in this case, it will submit the page data row and into and it's a pop-up. So it's gonna do an upsert on the table rows with the data row. One thing that's important to remember, everything in Vantiq, and especially in the client data client builder, is still asynchronous. So you have to remember that whenever you do a click or whenever you do something here, it's going to be asynchronous. So let me see if I forgot something. Client builder, client UI review, layouts, mobile, events, advanced team, organization, launchable, object data streams, data stream, data types, data wrap. Yeah, that's it. One thing that I forgot to mention is the a way to debug it. Okay, so 2 ways to debug these things. Let me go back to the other one. So whenever you are in these pages or the client builder, you got to remember that you're preparing a browser or a browser page. So the way to debug it is almost like you would debug any other web page. So for example, in here, in data stream, I want to see what's going to be sent to me every time it runs this timed query. So one thing I could do is, for example, on data arrived, I could have an event that I'll do an alert, and because the data that's being sent here is a JSON object, I'm gonna do a JSON dot stringify data, so that I have a string. Okay, save, run. But the alert is right in my face and not really easy for me to copy or to look at it. So another thing I could do I could do a console.log. So console.log, and I can log this as a string. Say string plus, not string, let's put alert, save, 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 run, no, save, run. And now, I should have shown this before. More tools, developer tools. So I can see my screen, that alert, and I can copy, can see it. I can even filter by that alert that I sent. Alert. So it's a way to debug it much better than the other one that I did, the alert in my face. But in the phone, but remember, in the phone, you don't have the console.log, so the alert is the best. It's not the best way, but it's one of the ways that I saw that I resolved to see how it runs in the phone. One other way, this is pretty interesting. Let me do, I'm gonna do the alert. Let me do the alert on the phone. Click here, alert. I'm gonna mark it to run the phone too. Save, properties, browser and mobile, advanced, mark as launchable. And one other way that you can do this is by, for example, if you want to see an object, what you could do is you could have, for example, let me put an object here. So this object, I'm gonna tie this to, there's no object created, but I can come here and say client.data.obj. And my data object, client.data, I can add a property called obj, and it's gonna be an object. Save and exit. And now on my data stream, I'm gonna assign, adding to the alert, I'm gonna say the client.data.obj equals data, and I think it's I'm pretty sure it's an array, so I'm gonna put data 0. And I here, save, 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 save. So I'm gonna try to run it from my phone. Vantiq, start, test just showed here. If I click test, it will run. That's my alert. So if it's a small thing, the alerts are pretty easy to see. If it's not that small, it becomes really hard for me even to click on the OK. Let me, geez. Now it went. So much easier for me to see it from here. So I can see on my object here, what is the object? I could select it all. I could even write it, but I don't want to write it. I want to select it. Anyway, I think it's my keyboard. Anyway, this is a way for you to debug your applications. Let me just go back to the slides. Logic, I talked about it. Test application. All right. So now that we've seen app builder, system modeler, client builder, veil, types, topics, I want to talk about what might be the most complicated part of Vantiq, and at the same time, the best part of Vantiq too, the collaboration. So inside of Vantiq, let me start. No, this one. Let me start it by the slides. Inside of Vantiq, we have what we call the collaboration builder. So the collaboration builder builds collaboration. That is, although they may look like the application builder, the collaboration that's built is something way more powerful. So let me just go back to the Vantiq. I'm gonna show really quickly the, no, not this one. I'm gonna show the application and the collaboration side by side. Let me change the layout. Okay. So although they may look very much alike, this one, you are seeing that there's a flow going on. So whatever you receive, it do some work, do some of the actions, and it will probably just be looking. In this case here, it's looking for an issue, a dangerous situation, until it really finds a dangerous situation and then starts the collaboration. This collaboration, the first thing you notice, or expect you to notice, that there's these components in the middle between the activities. So it does have similar activities. It has a like initiate activity. This one is the event stream. This one is the initiate collaboration activity. And in between these activities, so here we have a recommendation, here we have an assignment. There are a few less activities than the application builder, but in between these activities, they have events. So after we start a collaboration, and now I'm going to start one new one. The first thing that we have is the initiate. What initiates a collaboration? In this case here, because we have in the application, no, not this application, sorry. In this application here, we have a start collaboration activity. That's the assigned tag, the start collaboration activity. It's creating a collaboration by creating a record in a situation table. So the configuration here, you'll see it's when insert occurs on our situation, where situation name equals assigned tag. But this is the condition that will start this collaboration. If I want this collaboration to have a different condition, in the beginning it's null. I can say when publish occurs on demo, no, not demo topic. Let's say a dig topic. Okay. There's no entity roles for now. I'm gonna explain in a second, and I can save it. I always forget the name. So property, my new collab. And here's where I set the collaborator roles and entity roles. For now, I don't want to set anything. Save. So initiate. So my collaboration, in this collaboration, it will initiate when I publish something. Let me just put it aside. Let me, oh, not type. Let me create a topic called a drink topic. Okay. This collaboration, it will initiate whenever I publish something. It might still look like the application builder, but my collaboration has something that my collaboration builder, the application builder doesn't have. That's a context. So I'm gonna put some information here just so you to know. That's now it's another. That's fine. So I created 5 collaborations. So these collaborations, although they might not look like they're doing anything, and in this case they're not, they're still alive. My collaborations, we can be seen from, for example, if you go to test advanced collaborations, and run a query on the collaboration query, you can see all the collaborations that are active. So I'm gonna see the last one, that what I published, test and another, so that you can see that my collaboration has a status that's active, has some properties, in this case there's none, related entities, because I didn't set any entity, there's none, but it does have a collaboration ID and it has a result. The results of my initiate event in a topic, a direct topic, it was sent for the new value and it was test 1, 2, 3, another 2, 4, 3, parallel. And in this case, there's nothing else. In my other collaborations that I had nothing, it was blank. But in this other one, assign tag, that is based on this one, I have one that's still active. What did it do? So when this collaboration initiated, it ran this recommendation tag, and it actually had uh, the initiated event had some information. That's this one, and oh, actually didn't do anything else. My bad. I thought it did more than this. I can close this collaboration later on, but I want to show you more. So let me come back to the other one. My new collaboration. Let me close this one. Let me get my topic. And what I'm gonna do now is assign new activities. So as I said on Monday or Tuesday, whenever you have like interactions with human beings, you have what we call the collaborations. So whenever, for example, if I want to notify somebody, I can put here a notification, and I can say it's a notification. If I want to do a conversation, I can put a conversation down here. And look that the event that will start my conversation, it could be an always, like this diamond here, a custom, a response, or a first response from the notification. So I'm gonna leave it as first response so that I'm gonna talk about it a little bit later. The location tracking, I'm gonna put it in initiate. So initiate only has always and custom. If I want to do an escalation, let's put now escalation in conversation. Look that what I have is message, always in custom. Let's leave it in message. If I put a repeat until in location tracking, I'll have update, arrival, first arrival, waypoint departure, and always not in custom. So each one of these activities, I hope you guys are noticing this. Each one of these activities can have different events that are the outcomes. That put it this way. So the initiate only has always a custom. Notification have first response. Conversation only have message. Location tracking have update, arrival, first arrival, waypoint departure, waypoint arrival, and others. Let me put a notification again. Others may have different things like repeat until. It will have success, failure, final failure, and each one of these events will happen based on what you configure of these activities. So before in the application builder, you had only one simple configuration. But in here, aside from the configuration that you can do in each one of the components, you also have the runtime parameters. So in this collaboration, let's say my configuration will send my notification that will be sent for somebody, because in the time that my collaboration run, it will be based on this context. So let's say I want to send a body, the body of my notification is body, the title will be title, the client name will be keep details. I'm gonna use the Vantiq push notification to push it to the user mobile, and my runtime parameters depends exactly on what started my collaboration, on what's going on in my collaboration. So in my scenario here, let's say that I want to do, I'm just gonna minimize this a little bit, otherwise it's not gonna actually work. So let me just delete some of these. Let me put an escalation here so that I can actually show you guys. So in my runtime parameter, I'm gonna send it to an array of users. So instead of fixing the value, let's say that it will depend, it will be an expression depending on the value that of the event that initiated my collaboration. So I'm gonna send this based on the event, new value, user ID. So I'm gonna delete this escalation for now because I hope you get the idea. And I'm gonna put a service of close collaboration in the first response. And I'm gonna talk about why this is different and why this is a service in a second. So now when I save this, it detects there are some open activities, some open collaborations. I'm gonna close them. I'm gonna clear this, and let me put my phone here. And let me put my phone, I want to see my phone, just a second. View, float on top, okay. So now you'll be able to see my phone floating here. Put it aside. I need the entry topic. I'm gonna publish. I said that I wanted to send it an event to user ID, and I'm gonna send it to the user ID that has this ID. It has to be a string. So publish. So when I publish this, it went to notification and send it to my phone. Maybe I should have put something else. Let me see what did I put. We can see it. So let's see if there's an error. Yeah, so there was an error. It is complaining notifications and payload users failed because it's not an array. Of course. So let me edit this notification runtime parameters. This has to be an array. So let's make this an array. Okay. Save. And let me change this. I'm gonna let me put a different client, otherwise this is not gonna work. I'm gonna put a client, not test, I'm gonna create a new one, just for mobile, not okay. I'm just gonna put a picture and a button. Okay, just this. Save, close, runtime, no, not runtime, sorry. Configuration. Now I'm gonna say it's gonna send it the naughty. Okay. Send. So not send, save. Clear. Now let's do it again. Publish. Bam, bam. Bye, 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 bye. Let's see what happened. Refresh. That was another error. Source not currently active. What? Source. It's disabled. Save. Yeah, so your source also has to be active, otherwise it's not gonna work. So let me close all active instances. Okay. At least you're seeing how to debug. Publish. And finally, and we got the other one that was stuck in the notification, let's say notification pool. So you see title, body, and when we click on it, we just see the button. So if I click this button, look what happened. After it uploads, of course, you see there was a first response. So this first response was an event from the notification. So with this, I want you to realize what happens in Vantiq with this collaboration. So imagine that you have like Uber drivers. So you have sent a notification for an Uber driver or a coupon driver or a food service, and they receive the notification. So if you send it to 1,000 phones, they will all be sending these notifications, and then the Vantiq application will be sitting still, just waiting for these response to be returned. And when you finally send this, it will be in different times, but it will identify which collaboration was sent for, and it will show you will do the uh, concluding applications or tasks. So you may have like several applications running in a sleep mode, just waiting for some of these events that I showed you before, like response, first response, waypoint arrival, waypoint departure to happen. So this event conditioning makes Vantiq a lot more powerful than other systems. And imagine that you're tracking somebody. So let me come here to location tracking. So let's say that you're tracking somebody. So first response. No, let me put the location track on the first one. So I'm gonna always locate tracking. I'm gonna delete this close collaboration. I want to, the options on the location tracking are all optional. So I want to capture the user movements in accuracy of 200 meters. I want to say that he has arrived if he gets close to the target point, 100 meters close to it. I can put a message. I can put a distance filter that every 50 meters I want to generate an update event, and I want to ping the user to see his location if there was a change in, if he doesn't send anything for the last 10 minutes. So let's say that the phone is closed, the application is closed, and this way Vantiq is not in the foreground. So Vantiq is running in the background. So if we don't detect anything in for 10 minutes, then we ping it, and the Vantiq application will kind of wake up and send the notification or send information on where the phone is. And sorry, I forgot. And I want to configure to monitor which users. So I want to monitor, again, it's gonna be, I can put it different. Let me put it different this way. So literally, it's gonna be an array, and I'm gonna put an expression. I'm gonna put it to be the user of the initiate event. So dot new value dot what's the name again? User ID. One thing that I forgot to show you, as this is a collaboration, this has a context in the back, I can have these variables from my collaboration based on the other activities. So I have the initiate event, I have the location tracking object, I have the arrived users from the location tracking object, I have the notification, the payload ID, who responded. I can take a look at the situation, see what are the situations available, and I can see the status of the collaboration. So I have all these components that I can use that are helping me. So my destination, I'm gonna say it's I'm gonna say it's literal. It's gonna be no. Let me put could be an expression. is again, it's going to be based on the event new value dot location. Okay, so I'm going to track this user until he meets his destination, and then based on the location tracking, I can have um, let's have an escalation just to show something based on the arrival. Whenever he arrives, I'll have an escalation. And so that you see another possibility here. This doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to show you. So in this case, my location tracking, the event it generates has the property called username, destination, and the whole collaboration. So I could use these properties here to see who was the user that arrived. Where was the destination that he arrived to? So I could see some more information. So location tracking, if I click in results, it will show me the information that I have on the resulting object. But I can go to the event documentation to see it all. The collaboration is the most complicated part because it's not so intuitive to understand that you have something running in the foreground, but also you have something running in the background at the same time. And these are all variables that you can also use at the runtime and at the configuration of the collaboration. So I know it's pretty complicated, and I need to complicate just a little bit more because as you can see, you have numbers, or you have the badges and the activities. You have the badges in some of the events. But if you have, for example, a collaboration, sorry, a service, these services, they do not provide any badges. The services are procedures that are running on the server, and based on the parameters of these procedures, you're going to see here all the information that you need to pass along. So services, so when you create something, you can add an event, and then you can put a task that's an activity that will generate events and generate subsequent, let me just get rid of this. It would generate subsequent activities, or you can have a service that's kind of, it's not a dead end, but it's kind of a one-way or a last stop for your events. So it could be anything that you want, any procedure that you have created. So I had created a bonus, calculate bonus. So you can bring something from the catalog if there was any services other than this one generated, and you can put in here. So this first response will actually call the bonus, calculate bonus service, and you can say what you want to pass along. So this number can be something like, again, I'm going to use the initiate event dot new value dot number. Okay, I'm just going to put a number 1, 2, 3 here that you so you can see. Let me save. I forgot to put something in our escalation. Let me delete this. Save. All right. I want to show you. Yeah, I'm not gonna go much deeper in the collaboration, other than just show you that the events here, they don't do anything. I mean, the events that the numbers or events that you're seeing up here, they don't go along in the services. They just stop at the activities. And if you try to do anything else, for example, I can put an activity here, but I cannot put an activity under a service, just under another activity. That's the base of the collaboration. Okay. I'm gonna go over on the slides the activities. So I talked about this. Runtime parameters, I talked about this. I'm gonna go over some of the activities. Services, you have some pre-built services that are really useful. So cancel collaboration, cancel escalation, close collaboration, establish collaboration. You can call collaboration from within one collaboration using this. And for example, send a message, send chat message to a user. The events I told you about, always custom, and you can also, oh, this is something interesting. Let me delete. Let me show you something interesting. So you saw my bad. Delete. Oh, is that okay? So you saw my client here. Where is it? Naughty. Okay. So Naughty has a button. So this button has a value of 100. So I'm gonna put another button. I'm gonna say that this one is called 100. This one is called 50, and I'm gonna put a value of 50. And this one is called 0. I'm gonna put a value of 0. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna clear this one. And in this first response, where you see where I can put some more information. So instead of true, I'm gonna change it to event.submit value. And then I'm gonna say that's just when the submit value equals 100. I'm just gonna click OK. So in this one, there's only gonna be an event where the submit value equals 50. And the last one, only where the submit value equals 0. I know it's maybe a bit too much. Let me just see. Oh, and when you click the event data, you can see what the events are available. Sorry, the event data is available. So here, I'm gonna close all active instances. Let me bring my phone back again. I'm gonna, this is old stuff. Let me clear this, put it here. Sorry, I'm gonna publish. So now I'm gonna get a notification, and this notification has the 3 buttons. So if I click 50, when it finishes uploading, yeah, I should have done that a little bit different. Actually, all the 3 of them show an event, but only the one that had the right, how can I say it? Oh, I forgot. The right, let me put a notification here, another notification here. Just the one that had the right where clause is the one that's gonna get the event. So let me put something. Oh, I press cancel. Just bear with me a second, and I'm gonna. This is interesting. Okay. The last one. No, clicked on the wrong place. Version. Okay. Okay. I'm not putting anybody's name because I don't want to send it to nobody. Let me click here. So I'm gonna send 3 notifications to myself. Okay, so the first one, I'm gonna click 0. Should be the last one to go on. Oh my bad. So that's what I want to show. Sorry. So as you can see, the 3 first responses happened, but only this one was allowed to go on. So if I click on the next one, 50, and the other one, 100, you see that only one for each will show up. Just going, and eventually it will go. So collaboration, again, collaboration is the most powerful part of Vantiq, but also the most complicated or complex part of Vantiq to understand as well. Yeah, both of them went out. Here, these 2. So I know that in this, explaining that in just 45 minutes is not time enough. Yeah, and it takes time for you to let it sink, to understand it internally. So only when you first start using collaboration, you will finally get it. So it takes time. Don't worry right now. I will ask Shangan to translate this last part, because it is complicated. It took me quite a while to really understand collaboration. And the same thing happens to other people, even inside Vantiq. It's not something that you take a session, 4 or 5 minutes later, you understood at all. It takes quite a while for you to really grasp what collaboration is. So with this, I'm gonna stop for now. I'm gonna thank you for your time, for your patience, and Shangan is gonna finalize this. Thank you.
어제하고 오늘 사실 이제 벤틱에서 우리가 벤틱에서 개발할 수 있는 환경에 대한 것들을 많이 얘기를 했는데요. 어제는 이제 앱 빌더를 이용해서 실제 이제 우리가 만들어야 될 그 시스템의 비즈니스 로직을 이제 정의하고 만드는 건 사실 이제 앱 빌더에서 하는 거고, 그다음에 그것들을 이제 투영을 시켜서 보여주려면 이제 결국은 이제 사용자 그 리포팅이나 그런 대시보드가 나와야 되잖아요. 그래서 사실 오늘은 이제 첫 번째 했던 내용이 이제 그중에서 그 클라이언트라고 해가지고서 그 화면을 어떻게 구성하는지에 대해서 좀 보여드렸고, 그중에서 이제 위젯 같은 것들 이제 드래그 앤 드롭 갖다 놓고 어떻게 쓰는지 보여드렸고, 그리고 이제 그 추가적으로 이제 그 벤틱에 제공하는 위젯은 이제 제한되어 있으니까 서드 파티 위젯을 쓸 수 있다고 아까 잠깐 얘기를 했었잖아요. 그래서 아까 제가 메뉴를 딱 기억을 못 하겠는데 들어가서 이제 그 어드밴스드나 하여튼 들어가서 다른 자바스크립트나 그런 거 선택해 가지고서 그 외부에 있는 그 인터넷상에 있는 프리어 위젯이나 아니면은 구매를 한 위젯 같은 것들을 이제 추가해 가지고서 좀 꾸미는 것들, 그런 것들 이제 좀 보여줬고, 그리고 마지막에 이제 좀 설명한 거는 콜라보레이션인데, 이거는 그 다른 툴하고 틀리게 벤틱이 이제 별도로 이제 독립적으로 제공하는 기능 중에 한 가지라고 말씀을 좀 드릴 수가 있고요. 그래서 딱 보셨으면 좀 느끼셨겠지만, 시스템하고 사람하고 그 연동해 가지고서 뭔가 해야 되는 작업을 뭔가 만들어야 된다고 했을 때 되게 유용한 툴이라고 말씀드릴 수가 있고, 언뜻 보기에 보면은 그 요새 그 딜리버리 서비스 많으니까 뭐 쿠팡이츠나 그런 것처럼 이제 그 누군가가 이제 주문을 하면, 아니면 이제 대리운전 같은 경우에 누가 이제 호출을 하면 시스템이 받아 가지고서 그 음식점이나 아니면은 그 대리운전을 호출한 분 주변에 있는 사람들한테 노티를 주고, 그럼 그중에서 가까운 데 있는 사람이 액셉트를 누르면 그 사람한테 다시 뭐 할당이 되고 하는 그런, 사람하고 시스템하고의 그 계속 그 응대를 하면서 뭔가 행위를 하는 그런 식의 이제 비즈니스 로직을 가지고 구현해야 되는 어플이 있다고 하면, 그럴 때 되게 유용한 툴이 여기 나와 있는 이제 콜라보레이션이라고 하는 이제 그런 도구일 것 같아요. 그래서 그거 좀 설명을 좀 강조해서 좀 드린 것 같고요. 그 클라이언트 빌더 이용해 가지고서 사용자 리포트나 대시보드 만드는 거나, 또는 이제 이 콜라보레이션 관련해 가지고서 마찬가지로 그 시스템하고 사람하고 연동해 가지고 하는 이런 것들에 대한 것도 마찬가지로 그 제가 그 미리 공유해 드린 랩에 보면은 아마 세 번째인가 네 번째인가 랩에 이 항목들이 다 좀 들어 있거든요. 그래서 그거 한번 해 보시면은 좀 더 이해가 빠르실 것 같고, 결국 계속해서 말씀드리는 거는 벤틱이라고 하는 게 로우 코드 플랫폼이고, 실제 이제 코딩 대신에 이런 것들을 이제 만들어진 위젯이나 또는 액티비티 패턴이라고 해야 되나요? 태스크라고 해야 되나요? 그런 것들이나 또는 이제 콜라보레이션과 관련해서 마찬가지로 이제 패턴 같은 것들에 대해서 그 어떤 것들이 제공하고 있는지를 많이 알면 알수록, 그리고 어떻게 사용했는지에 대해서 많이 이해하고 있으면 있을수록 좀 더 빠르고 쉽고 또 좀 탄탄한 어플리케이션을 만들 수 있다고 생각이 되거든요. 그래서 그런 것들은 그 항목 하나하나에 대해서 인제 이 친구가 영어로 설명하고 잠깐 보여주긴 했지만, 그 궁금한 게 있으시면은 어제 잠깐 말씀드린 것처럼 이거 도움말 들어가서 이거 찾으면 항목별로 다 어떤 기능들이 있는지 설명을 하거든요. 그래서 고거 보고서 한번 따라해 보시면 될 것 같고, 또 많이 쓰이는 태스크나 아니면 이 패턴 같은 것들은 말씀드렸던 랩 안에 많이 나와 있기 때문에 고거 한번 해 보시면 또 이해가 또 많이 되실 것 같아요. 어 오늘은 인제 여기까지 하고요. 아마 내일은 인제 이런 걸 개발할 때 필요한 이제 디버깅이나 그런 쪽 관련된 것들 아마 좀 강의를 해 주실 것 같고, 계속 말씀드리지만 랩 같은 거 계속 좀 해 보시고, 궁금한 거 있으시면 인제 저한테 메일로 회신 주시거나 아니면은 그 말씀드린 것처럼 채팅창에서 좀 질문해 주시면 좋을 것 같습니다. 그럼 오늘 수고하셨고요. 내일 다시 뵙겠습니다. 수고하셨습니다. 그만 종료하겠습니다.
Bye bye.